Hi guys, it's me, Akiba Johnson. Yes, that Akiba Johnson. The one that wrote the book, The Protectors, Book 1, Child of the Prophecy. This right here, handsome fella, is my good friend Ribbit. I've been knowing Ribbit from the way back time when I was a child. Alright, so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the history of my publishing the book, The Protectors. Alright? I wrote the book, The Protectors, many years ago, and I actually forgot how long ago I wrote it, but I think it's been about 12 or 13 years ago. I first started writing the book before I even had my second child, which is my daughter Anna, who is now a tween. So that lets you go back far how long ago it was written. I started writing the book because I was, at the time in my life, I had one child, I was a housewife. I was actually pretty comfortable in my life, but I felt like um, I wasn't living to my full potential. One day I had a nice long sit down talk with my dad, and he said, "Are you happy really where you are in your life? Are you on the path you thought you'd be on at this stage in your life, or have you veered off your path?" And I don't remember his exact words, but that's what I got out of it. And so I said, I'm being a wife and a mother. I'm taking care of my responsibilities. I'm being a grown-up dad. So, but when someone asks you that question that makes you question yourself, it's such a powerful question that what I wound up doing was really stopping and trying not to be offended by the question itself and ask the question to myself. So I kind of went back and asked myself, am I happy? Am I on the path that I thought I would be on? Would the little Akiba, the little girl who dreamed of what she would be when she grew up, would she be proud of me now? That's the questions I started thinking about with my dad's probing questions. And let me tell you a bit about the little girl I was before I'm this old middle-aged woman now. I thought that I used to write all these stories when I was little. Not stories I even really showed to people. I would sometimes tell it to my mom or something. You know how kids do, or tell my brothers. But I used to actually tell one of my brothers my stories a lot. Only because he had a high ego of himself, so I would write him as like a superhero, and he'd listen to my stories. Um, so I started to write these stories, and my fantasy, my dream, that little girl who didn't have no limitations or fears in her writing, I started dreaming that one day I would meet Stan Lee and show him some of my sketches and my storylines, and he would say, "You must come and work with me at Marvel Comics." That was what I thought would happen. I thought I would walk into Comic-Con one day and that Stan Lee would go, "Come work for me." And I would go, "Okay, Stan." That's how I worked it out in my head, okay? Don't laugh. So here I am in my head, meeting Stan Lee and writing these comic books. That's where I thought my life would go. As I got older, and after that question was posed to me from my daddy, I said, "No, I don't think I want to write comic books." So I started writing um, the book Protectors. And it was like I was a child again. And I would read, after I finished a chapter, I would read the entire chapter to my dad. "Listen to this, Dad." So we left off with blah, blah, blah. And I'd read him the next chapter as I finished, and he would be like, "Oh, yeah." And he asked all these questions, blah, blah, blah. And then would lead me into the next chapter. And I wrote the book with him. Finished my story. It became like a little bit emotional for me to finish that story, but I still wanted to write. So I started writing other stories. Okay. I didn't publish any of my stories, so I had all these books I'd written sitting on computer and sitting in flash drives and whatnot. But I wrote all these stories that nobody but me ever heard, and my kids. You tell your kids stories. And that wasn't good. So I decided to try to publish my books, or start publishing at least one. I wanted to start where I started, which was The Protectors. But like I said, I didn't finish the last 2 chapters of the book. It cut off where my dad died, and that's where I stopped writing that book. I took the book, finished the last 2 chapters, and without thinking or spending too much time, let myself be afraid, I published it on Amazon. That was very scary the day after. I sold I sold some books and stuff like that on Amazon. I bought myself some business cards, started passing out my business cards everywhere I went. I carried some in my pocket because I'd be all like, people, it come up, what do you do? And I would say, oh, I'm a writer. Check out my book on Amazon. Everywhere I go, I'd be like, oh, I'm a writer. Check out my book on Amazon. And that was what I was always doing. Just trying to get people familiarized with me as a writer and me introducing myself as a writer to people. It got to where, like, if I went to a bar, I'd pass out my card to everybody at the bar. I started going around to the laundromats and just putting my cards up at the laundromat and just sharing me with the entire world. Everywhere I went, I was like, here's my card, here's my card. We went to Universal Studios on vacation. I took a big stack that big and was passing out my card to anybody that I met. And, you're in line, and I'd get to talk about my book and whatnot and start passing out my card. I got really good at dropping, oh, and I'm a writer, blah, 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 blah. I would say, like, things, I would just, anything you started talking about, I'd figure out a way to lead it back to me being a writer in my book so I could pass you my card. And that's what I started doing, passing out my cards, telling people about my book. My card has the information on how to get on Amazon. Where I'm at on Amazon, the name of my book, my name, all that stuff for them to find the book. So that's why I was passing out my card everywhere I went. But what I learned in writing a book is that I was passing out my card a lot, and that became a very slow way of advertising my book. Even though I was passing out so many cards, it still was a slow way to advertise my book. Well, what I wound up doing is doing my Facebook page and doing social media. Okay. I decided social media would be my marketing campaign. Okay. So I started going onto YouTube, making my videos, telling everybody about my book, posting those videos onto my Twitter, onto my Facebook, and just basically familiarizing everybody with the world of the Protectors. Okay. I started really enjoying the social media part of the Protectors and really enjoying telling my story to everybody through social media. And then what it meant is that I could use one video to send to everybody, no matter which social media they use the most. If you're on Instagram, I'll put a pic and a quick little message on Instagram that'll familiarize you with what I'm at now and what I'm doing. And then Facebook, I would post my YouTube videos to Facebook and Twitter and try to start dialogue back and forth with each other. In doing that, I found a lady there was a lady on YouTube found my book. She was in a homeschooling group, and her group decided to do my book as they book that month, and then the kids get together and discuss it, blah, blah, blah. So I actually sold a lot of books to this one little homeschooling group because all the kids in the group had to get the book. So that was pretty fun. That was really fun to be able to do. And then she was like, yeah, we're going to use your book and blah, 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 because I guess she had found the book, seen the video, read it, was like, this is what we need. And I did that. So I use social media to get myself out there, right? But now I'm finding I'm trying to figure out what is my next step, because it's been a year and a half and the book is kind of like fizz to a low kind of, it's like sputtering in its sales now. So I'm wanting to get it back up because I'm about ready to do book 2. So I'm like, what's my big bang thing? So stay tuned for the next video, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing next. Okay? Stay right there. Right there. Right there. Just kidding, huh, Ribbit? All right. So far, just to recap, just my story as to how I got this far with the protectors and where I'm at. I'm on Amazon.com. Okay. So look up my book via Akiva Johnson, The Protectors, Book 1, Child of the Prophecy. It's easy to find on Amazon. If you are on my YouTube channel or my Facebook page, then you'll find links to the Amazon book quite easily on my pages. Anyway, take care. Part 2 of this series will be coming in just a couple of days. So keep watching and you'll see what happens next.